Hey, so this is my first time on camera in about 10 months, and I want to walk you through and tell you the story about some of the things that transpired. So around November of 2021, I started having a lot of problems breathing. There were a few times where I would wake up at night. In fact, I remember one time in December, I sent out a message. I meant to send it out to my wife on WhatsApp, but I actually sent it out to the group that I was woken up again at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't breathe. And for some reason, there was just this constant congestion in the left side of my nostril. And it was causing a lot of problems because what would happen is, even though I wouldn't have any problems falling asleep, I would only be able to sleep for about 3 hours. And then my brain would just like jolt me awake at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I just couldn't breathe out of this side of my face. And additionally, I had a lot of sinus pressure over here. And sometimes I would have to wait like 3 or 4 hours for it to open up. And oftentimes I would only be able to sleep like 3 hours a day. And during the day, it would cause just a lot of headaches and just I wouldn't be able to think clearly. I wouldn't be able to communicate clearly. And basically, it kind of like wrecked the entire 2022. Then, I guess the cherry on top was in February of 2022, I got COVID. And even though it wasn't that bad, for me it only lasted about 3 days. COVID, it increases your systemic inflammation. So I think that when you combine what happened to me, which I didn't know at the time, but now I'm pretty sure I know what happened, and then you combine that with the systemic inflammation from COVID, it kind of like made it so that every single day was a struggle. We finally moved to a house in 2020, and the air quality in the home was extremely bad. In fact, it was so bad that it led to mold inside the house and really bad air quality. So basically, like the air was, and the mold was attacking my body and attacking my immune system and leading to really high systemic inflammation, like my high sensitivity C-reactive protein was high and other inflammation markers, etc. And it was basically destroying my entire health. I just had no idea what was going on. I went to see around 8 doctors and none of them knew what was going on. I went to about 8 ENTs and allergists. I had numerous allergy tests. I had the endoscopes put down my nose by the ENTs, and nobody knew what was going on. Some of the medications that they prescribed me were azolastine and Flonase, and that actually did help bring down the inflammation, and that allowed me to sleep. The problem is that the Flonase is a corticosteroid, and I know that I didn't want to take that long term because it has some side effects. So I was looking for like a natural solution. The problem was with every doctor that I went to, I started getting more and more frustrated because you go to doctors and then you think that they're going to be able to diagnose you and to fix the issue. But for me, nobody knew what was wrong. So I was spending hours researching and taking like $2,000 worth of supplements. I was also trying to fix this myself by buying a ton of supplements online. Some of the things did help, like quercetin and zinc and things that would reduce the histamine levels, but I was really looking for a long-term solution. The thing that actually allowed me to recognize that the problem was the air was one of the ENTs recommended that I get a sleep test and a sleep study. So I went to a sleep study and they put like all these electrodes on my head and I couldn't sleep at all because I was so uncomfortable with the electrodes. However, what I realized was I could breathe so well at the sleep study space. And what that immediately told me was that the issue wasn't necessarily with my sleeping or anything like that. It was with the air that I was breathing, and that the air was reacting with my body to cause the issue with my left nostril. So we had to move, and we moved in late September. And since that time, I would say I was about like 40%. It was really, really bad. So basically, I was allocating all my time towards trading and helping out my followers and the people that are on the trade alerts and the people that purchase the education course. and I wasn't creating content. In fact, what I did, I had my editor make some shorts, some YouTube shorts from some of my past videos, and then that way I can post them. That way it would show the YouTube algorithm that my channel wasn't dead. And actually, I'm still posting those YouTube shorts now. But it's been about 3 months since I moved out of that house. And right now I feel about 85%. A few other things that I did. I started taking THC because in Florida, you can get a card and you can buy it from a dispensary. So I bought it, and then I took something called the RSO, Rick Simpson oil. And that helped me tremendously. It allowed me to sleep for longer periods of time. The problem with that was I noticed that it started to negatively impact my short-term memory. So I had to stop that because I definitely need my brain to be in tip-top shape. I need to be able to have my short-term memory and to speak clearly. So a few things that I did in order to counteract the short-term memory deficits was I took acetyl L-carnitine, creatine, bacopa, methylene blue, pyracetam, etc. And also I think I took some CDP choline and probably some other things as well. But basically, after taking that stuff for about a week, I was pretty much back to 100% where I was able to counteract the negative side effects of that. So a few things that I want to share. Mold is no joke. And a few of the things that I did for it included infrared sauna with binders, taking sweet wormwood, oregano oil, olive leaf extract, etc. But there are many people who would be exposed to mold and they are unable to recover not only in 3 months, but sometimes it takes them 3 years. And YouTube is such an amazing place. I have so much gratitude for the small following that I have. A few people who really helped me. Ernie from Zero DTE, he's just an amazing guy. He made recommendations and he would proactively check up on me. And every 2 or 3 months, he would send me an email and ask me how I was doing. And I'm never going to forget that kindness that he showed me. It really meant a lot because there were some days where it was just such a dark place. I remember I would send my wife at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning messages about how I just no longer wanted to go on because after going to 8 doctors and none of them knowing what's wrong with you, none of them being able to help you, and then just being in that house and every single day not being able to sleep, I started developing significant anxiety about sleeping as well because I knew that that night's sleep would be something that I would struggle with and that I would be woken up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So I started getting a lot of anxiety, and my wife was amazing. A few other people who really helped me. There's this guy who goes by the name of Parth. He's in Canada and he's a pharmacist. He helped me a lot. There is also an individual, Lee Goodman, who's a realtor in Ohio, even though I think he's moving to the Naples area. He is extremely knowledgeable about everything when it comes to the nose, from empty nose syndrome to allergies, and he's incredible. He helped me a lot. And Russell, he reviews traders, and for some reason he doesn't like me. He thinks that I'm directly responsible for getting Raging Bull shut down, and I disagree with him. I don't believe that I am directly responsible for that, but he actually really helped me as well. I spoke with his wife, and I think I spoke to her for about 45 or 50 minutes, and Russell was very nice. We spoke on email, and he allowed me to speak with his wife, and she was so kind and so helpful. So yeah, that's basically my story. Where do I go from here? Well, this is the first video that I made in 10 months, so I'm probably a little bit rusty. I do intend on making additional content. The only issue is that during the time when I was sick, I fell so far behind on everything. I went from having a clean inbox to having 600 emails in my inbox, and I'm just so far behind that it's probably going to take me a few months to catch back up, and that's assuming that I have no relapses. There's no guarantee that I'm going to continue to stay healthy. Maybe I'll have a relapse or two, maybe my sleep will be poor, and my body is still pretty weak because I went like 10 months without being able to sleep well. So I'm definitely going to need more than 3 months to repair my body and to take care of myself. But assuming that everything continues going in the right direction, I assume that probably around like April of 2023, maybe May or June, I'll be back to around 100%. We'll see, but this is the first step in the right direction. I'm creating content again, and I'll post this and also continue posting the shorts. Now, look, I know that the shorts are a little bit fast, but let me just quickly explain to you why I'm posting the shorts. The shorts are kind of like mashups of my old content, and the only reason for them is just to feed the YouTube algorithm so that YouTube knows that my channel isn't dead. And it's really there as a placeholder just to simply buy me some extra time, because right now I'm focusing on trading, I'm focused on providing excellent service to my followers, and at the same time I'm trying to get healthy, and I want to make sure that I have enough content so that it feeds the YouTube algorithm. So I think I have about 10 more shorts, and that should probably last me till about like February or March. And then I'll create like an occasional video, and then I assume that around like April or May, I'll get back towards creating consistent content. So that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out. You can leave a comment below and then I'll be sure to answer it. I definitely appreciate your attention. For those of you who reached out to me and who would leave nice comments, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate that, because I was in a really, really dark place. Because imagine like going to so many doctors and practically begging them for help and nobody knows what's wrong with you. It's just such a horrible feeling. And then I'm putting my wife through all of this stress and trauma, and it's just, I just would feel so guilty. So, you know, thankfully it seems like that's behind me, and I definitely appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone else. And like I said, I appreciate, you know, those 4 or 5 people who would proactively reach out to me and they help me. So that's about it. That's the update, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.